transpiring. The term seems self-explanatory. It conjures images of people living outside civilization, in wilderness areas, without modern energy sources or technology. Again, I think those exist, but the term can only be understood in context. Online, feral people have been blamed for unsolved disappearances. At times, they're even linked to the missing 411 phenomena. There are articles and YouTube videos, mostly compilations of stories found on online forums. Interestingly, they cast ostensible humans as almost paranormal entities. One wonders if being human isn't a mere matter of biology and phenotype, but of psychology and sociology. These stories interest Forteans because, like paranormal stories, they're unsolved. It's all speculative, and we don't know what's transpiring. Feral people are said to live in national parks, national forests, and mountain ranges. They are usually explained as settlers or pioneers who drifted from mainstream settlements and never returned. In the wild, they carved out a new existence, not reliant on even then contemporary technology. Isolated from society and communications, they reverted to a very antiquated, prehistoric existence, perhaps even with shamans and loincloths. Even the English language was either forgotten or distorted into animal-like whoops and calls. I struggle to believe this. It would be a struggle to live like this for over a century without being discovered. Not with deforestation, development, and the spread of ugly subdivisions. Nor with increased surveillance, communications, and recording technology. Consider also the human body itself. We are weak and unfit for the elements, at least not for long periods. Hence we build houses, plumbing, streets, and roads, etc., why we change our environment more than any other species. I think such communities would quickly die off, especially in northerly climates. Again, I don't rule it out entirely. I think such folks may exist in small numbers, but doubt they have for centuries. Years, maybe, and likely only individuals. Not breeding populations in multiple generations. Maybe isolated individuals are responsible for some disappearances, or for some of the weird things found in the woods, symbols, carvings, though I think these would have personal significance to the artist more than a religious or ritual meaning. Maybe I need to think outside the box. Maybe I'm too reliant on conventional assumptions. But I have an idea. It's not a theory, just idle speculation. I have no stake in its veracity. What if my reasons for not believing in feral people are correct, but the traces and sightings are real? What if they aren't human but paranormal entities? Consider the ETH and the view that ghosts are the deceased. Maybe feral people are just an interpretation stemming from the materialist mindset. It would explain why these things are seen, despite the implausibility discussed above. Many Fortean phenomena have pre-modern antecedents, folkloric parallels. Greys are often likened to the medieval fae folk, who would later inspire popular culture's fairies. Shadow people were preceded by the shades of Native American lore. As I've discussed, none have yet to be found for stickmen. Black dogs have appeared for centuries, long before Charles Fort, in both pre-modern folklore and Forteana. Feral people may have their own antecedents in the Wood Wazay. I believe that's how it's pronounced. The Wood Wazay, or Wild Man of the Woods, is a figure from medieval European lore. It was rooted in still earlier mythology, where wild men were staples. As with the Fae folk, they were most prominent in Celtic and Norse traditions. The latter called them Vildas. I think that's how it's pronounced, or wild men. They were often depicted with long, unkempt hair, animal-like physicality, and scant clothes made from leaves and fur. Their demeanor was said to be wild and ferocious. Much symbolism was associated with them. They often represented the duality of human nature and wildness, connection to nature, fear and fascination with the wilderness, a critique of civilization and the loss of primal instincts. They appeared in medieval literature, the Gawain poet works, Arthurian legends, the Canterbury Tales. At times their savagery was emphasized, at times their wisdom and connection to the earth. They appeared in manuscripts, tapestries, and sculptures, often alongside knights on quests. In the margins of illuminated manuscripts, often engaging with animals or nature. In heraldry, they symbolized both fear and reverence for the natural world. Its relationship to nature is profound, it being this type of figure. Often seen as protecting the forest, they embodied the spirit of the wilderness. This relationship reveals much about medieval social attitudes. Wood Wazay reminds us of our connection to the earth and the importance of preserving natural spaces. There's far more. This is just an overview. In later episodes, I may elaborate. In other words, They're a symbol, a personification of social and psychological themes. Maybe these entities exist and are or aren't to blame for disappearances. Maybe those causes were mundane and just interpreted colorfully. But if they are symbolic, what do they symbolize? Recall that many of these phenomena seem interlinked, and that many UFOnauts preach environmental messages. As always, I'm just pissing in the wind. And as always, if you have any experiences or insights and would like to share them with me on my channel, feel free to email me at tparish1@new.rr.com.